The Nature Journal is brought to you by SAPI, the global specialized cellulose, paper and packaging company.
Well, hi from me, Tim Neary, with this week's edition of our SAPI Nature Journal Express. Well, of course, we're all talking about water at the moment, or the lack of. Cape Town is talking about going to a level 2 styled restrictions. When I listen to their restrictions, all it sounds to me is that the city of Cape Town, like all other municipalities, is simply looking for money. They're going to penalise you if you don't save 20% water on that which you're doing at the moment. People usually react very well to water requests or restriction requests. They tend to behave themselves as they understand that which comes out of their taps. Or we think they do. And of course, we're looking at the rain, which has been falling slightly, but not in our catchment areas. And so really, I guess these restrictions, unless the water doesn't come out of your tap sufficiently, are just about raising money. We may, of course, remember what happened down in KwaZulu-Natal. Two mistakes that were made there recently. One was allowing the municipality to put seawater into the taps. Can you imagine the damage that is doing to the infrastructure over time? And of course the other was also further up in the North Coast. They too decided to levy and penalise people who are not going about saving water. And so they too put in this percentage system, which of course failed dismally, and they ended up having to give back a lot of money. I want to take you to Botswana for the moment. Pete Morrison is a friend of mine who I haven't seen for many years, but Pete does a blog on a regular occasion, and I rather enjoy them. This one I thought was very poignant. You go to a tap, turn it on, and out comes water. Such a vital commodity, and unfortunately gets abused. But what happens when you get to a tap, when you open it, nothing comes out, not a drop. Living in a desert, one quickly learns to appreciate water. A few weeks ago, 2 municipal boreholes weren't functioning and our water storage levels were being seriously tested. Not helping matters, we were experiencing temperatures in the very high 40s, around 48 and 49 degrees Celsius. The bush around us was wilting and leafless, the ground devoid of any plants and grass. It was during this time that an old man, who does some work for us, brought me a 25-litre container and asked if I could get him some water. He lives just outside of town, and with no municipal water, no water in the area at all, the community there takes a donkey cart with water containers into town to get water. But now with the problems that we were experiencing in town, they were battling to get fresh water, and he personally had none. So I took 25 litres from our dwindling supplies and delivered it to his kraal. He was over the moon with joy, and he couldn't stop thanking me. All of a sudden, his goats started bleating and came running excitedly as they knew that there was water. This was one of the saddest things I've ever seen, as I was sure that the goats weren't going to get much, or if any, of that precious 25 litres. I knew the old man had another 2 containers which I asked for. Hell, I could spare 50 litres for the goats. Our tank was very low, and if we were going to battle, so be it. At least the goats were getting water. Hey, amazingly we survived. We had to introduce some water management. A few shorter showers. Washing dishes only once a day. Flushing only when necessary. After a week of extreme temperatures, clouds appeared on the Saturday, and we could see them in the distance building up, and our expectation for rain was high. As quick as anything, a hectic dust storm came through, followed by rain. But as quickly as it came, it went just as quickly. There was nothing to record in my rain gauge. We were bitterly disappointed. After a few hours, the sky in the north grew darker and darker. We actually stopped the film we were watching on television and went outside to watch the storm. The lightning was everywhere, and later followed by that lovely sound of thunder. We did the counting thing. Flash, counted happily, and the storm was about 40 kilometers away. A good chance the Makgadikgadi Pans were getting some rain. Sadly, the storm didn't come any closer to us, and we were still dry. Sunday afternoon, the clouds built up again and then dissipated. And then that night we were woken by the bright flashes of lightning and the crashes of thunder. The rain had finally reached Letlhakane. It was absolutely amazing. It was music to one's ears and euphoria to one's heart. And when the sun came up that morning, everything was wet and clean. It looked wonderful. We'd had 12 millimeters of rain overnight. This rain was followed by a storm on Monday evening that resembled something you see in a horror film. The wind was howling, the lightning was intense, and the thunder cracked all round us. One bolt of lightning hit so close, and amidst the sound of thunder, I heard a sound that resembled the noise of an insect being scorched in an electric fluorescent zapper. Our internet router had been frazzled, but at least we had rain, 26 millimeters. And this was followed by 6.5 millimeters the following day, and then another 6 millimeters 2 days later, making it just over 50 millimeters in 4 days in the desert. Trees started sprouting, which a few days had turned up leaves, the grass started growing, and the wild flowers popped up all over the place. The bush had totally transformed, and new life could be seen all over. Kids were swimming in water being held in borrow pits. Everything and everybody had welcomed the rain. The rain did not help the town's borehole problems, however, and we had a very worrying week, expecting it to dry up at any stage. However, I would like to praise the water board here in Letlhakane, as they sorted out the problems and we now have water, touch wood. It is really frightening having minimal water supplies and planning what to do if we were to run out. We have learnt its value and now only use it sparingly. Please think of the old man's goats before turning on a tap. Maybe stop and think about that a while. Think about the old man's goats before turning on a tap. In our cities in South Africa, we simply open up a tap, and if the municipality says there's not enough water, we all get grumpy. What about somewhere like Letlhakane, where in fact there were 2 boreholes servicing the town? And even more importantly, is this a good occasion and a good lesson in true Ubuntu, where you only have enough water for yourself, but not only do you share it with the old man, but you make sure that you have a sacrifice to share it with his goats? There are lots of people that are in our country who are in exactly the same position. People in the Karoo, for example, who I talk to, and who have had 2 inches of water in the bottom of the bath, and the choice is cook with it, drink it, wash with it, or give it to the animals. And the animals usually win, and you have enough just for your cooking and maybe a glass full of water for that you actually need. We are so used to wasting, we are so used to the modcons, and yet with the small areas that surround us, people are living without water. Well, of course, coming up this weekend on the Nature Journal in 60 Minutes, we're going to be chatting to David Holt-Biddle in his hide, going down to Cape Town to find out more about Liesbeek River cleanup. Can we in fact replicate this in other parts of the country? We'll also be chatting to the guys from Tidal Tower, a book review, and then finding out about shark finning down in Mossel Bay. So this week we'll be doing a little tour of South Africa. The show is on Saturday morning between 8 and 9 a.m. It's rebroadcast to a number of syndication partners, but you can also pick it up on DSTV channel 869 as well as www.1985.org.za. From me, Tim Neary, have yourselves a super week.
The Nature Journal supports the sustainability of our planet, its people and prosperity. Brought to you by SAPI, a leading global specialized cellulose, paper and packaging company. For more information, visit www.sapi.com. SAPI, inspired by life.